All right. All right, well, welcome again, students. Really appreciate having you all with us today. So my name is Nick Shackley. I am the Assistant Director of the Career Center in LynxConnect, and I also have a colleague with me facilitating this workshop.
Hi, my name is Joe Fan. I'm a peer advisor at LynxConnect. I help students with resumes, cover letters, and internship workshops and stuff like that.
Mhm. Wonderful, yeah, we're really happy to have Joe here and provide kind of some of that student perspective. So we'll go ahead and we'll just jump into our slides and move through that content. So the first thing that we wanted to do for you all is to give you a little update about what do we know with the COVID situation right now. So this is some new information, some things that are a little bit up to date, and some things that we even included a little bit earlier in the week as well. And so just to know, I think as we've navigated this entire process, I think it's very important to know that there are jobs available. We've been hearing a lot of information and a lot of statistics and different media buzzing around about the difficulty of employment or people losing employment. But I think it's important to note that companies are hiring and there are jobs available. Certain industries are definitely affected a little bit different. I think a really interesting figure that we see here on the slide is that in March, remote jobs in the United States actually rose 30%. So that really does indicate that working from home and employers hiring is still something that's happening even during this pandemic, even as we slowly navigate it as well. Knowing that certain industries are impacted more than others with this situation. And so that one thing we need to know and why this information is important is because we need to be able to make some adjustments about what types of opportunities we're searching for, what types of industries might connect to our professional identity and our values. And so we need to pay attention what industries are still stable, maybe growing a little bit, or less impacted so that it provides a level of stability and opportunity. Very similarly, we know that non-essential business travel has really been restricted and is almost non-existent. So if you're an individual that's interested in traveling for work or meeting with different vendors across the country or across the globe, or maybe working in international affairs or international types of industries, these industries would be those that could be affected more than others. So we need to be able to be flexible again with that mindset to be able to say, where do I go from there? Very similarly, we know that a lot of organizations are allowing their employees to continue to work from home when they're able. I believe earlier this week, I just saw that Twitter is allowing their employers to, or their employees to indefinitely work from home as long as they like. So this is something to pay attention to as well, and knowing that it needs to be a mindset of adaptability, or that this can be what the process looks like for you as we go through summer and most likely through the fall. This is something, COVID and this situation, this economic impact that we're seeing is something that we're going to see for many, many years. So we need to pay attention to what is the employer and consumer mindset. So what I mean by that is, yes, even though things could be opening up and we see a little bit more of our economy and social systems growing and increasing, that doesn't necessarily mean that employers would be posting positions. We really need to pay attention to, well, how does the consumer feel about that? What are their resources like? And is that something, a product or service that they would want to purchase? And if not, well, then that means that the employer is not generating revenue, which means that they're not able to post as many positions. So we need to pay attention to those mindsets and how that impacts the available jobs and the economy overall. One thing that I think is really exciting about this whole situation is that we are seeing innovation happen right in front of our eyes, and that organizations and industries are adapting so that they can stay competitive and still gain income and revenue. So I think what's really neat about this is that we're going to see positions popping up that we've never seen before, and that the idea of innovation and problem solving in relation to COVID is going to be a big part of employment and hiring. I think of something that's really interesting is all of the virtual and digital concerts that we've been seeing popping up as a way to engage the community and still maintain the entertainment industry. So this is something that we've never seen before in the world of work, of something like a digital events coordinator. But these will be position titles that we're going to see popping up now and moving forward. So something to think about that can really relate for students in their direction. And one thing to really know, and that's most important, is that we understand and we're experiencing this with you. It is hard, it is confusing, and there are so many variables that are constantly fluctuating that change all of this. And it is just the best word that I can think of is uncertainty. We just don't know. And that's okay. That can be life at times, but you have a tremendous support network behind you to be able to support you through these processes and help navigate these uncertain times. So this graph that you see here, this breakdown, comes from LinkedIn, and it is the Professional Competence Index. So basically, these are different industries, whether it be recreation and travel, finance, legal, any of these various industries. And then it gives a overall competence index. And then you see these three different functions or three different sections about job, finance, and career. So this survey is surveying employees in those industries and how they feel or their confidence about their job stability, their financial stability, as well as careers. Is their field going to be advancing, and will they see themselves in this industry further on down the road? And so right here, you can already begin to see that certain industries are impacted more so than others. And particularly recreation and travel, thinking it might be fun to start up and work for a neat startup like Airbnb. Well, unfortunately, that would be one that's definitely impacted more here. And also, as we scroll a little bit further down in this dialogue or this graph, you also see that, hey, those within public relations and legal, or even those within healthcare, are some of those industries that are feeling confident about their situation here. So knowing too that certain industries will rebound very differently in regards to this. So tourism being a very easy one to think on, knowing as we lift travel restrictions, as we lift different types of social distancing requirements, we will begin to see that industry popping up, but it will take some time to get there. Those industries that have this low confidence, they're going to be forced to innovate. So this would be one of those areas that if you really do want to find yourself in design or media and communications or entertainment, to think creatively and dynamically so that you can be an innovator, you can be a staff member that is thinking ahead of the curve and being able to help these companies or industries survive. But ultimately, we need to have a critical lens on everything that we're hearing and reading about COVID and the economy. A really good example of this is the unemployment numbers and how these things are changing daily and how different reports are coming out, different projections, different assumptions, different estimates. And so it's always important to really look through that data and begin to read between the lines and see what is actually happening here and what does that really mean. And knowing that just because we might be seeing unemployment numbers that are surpassing the 2008 recession does not mean that there are not jobs available for you, or even that you won't be able to utilize your degree after graduation. So knowing that these things change daily and we have to take this data with a big grain of salt to read between the lines. Great. So this next section, I'll hand off to Joe.
Great. Thank you, Nick, for all the information about COVID. And so, once we know all the information, we have to look at ourselves. And so one thing I do want to emphasize on this slide specifically is that be intentional. A lot of times we find ourselves just kind of throwing ourselves like our resumes everywhere. Oh, they're hiring. I should probably apply now. I need a job. However, that shouldn't really be the case. We need to look back at ourselves and really look at ourselves and ask these questions here. Like, what are my values? What do I contribute? And what experience do I seek? So values is what do you need in an employer that you would love to contribute and be a part of? And what do you bring to the table as an employee? And so the experience is, what do you want to gain from that experience, right? And so everyone's situation is different. Not everyone's looking for a career. Some people are looking for jobs, and that's totally okay. Everyone is at a different point in time. But right now, I do want to emphasize be intentional means what is the most important thing to you right now. And so with all that, we need to take time to self-reflect and think about the direction and the goal that we're going to and build our professional identity from here. And this is a really good time to really sit back and look at, okay, well, I can bring XYZ to the table, but where do I want to be in 5 years? And this is a pretty hard question to ask sometimes, but it is a good time to, since we're all at home, it's good to sit back and really think about these questions and really set up a path for success. And we also have to remember that our success and failures do not define us. It's what we do and learn from it, and what we do with it in the future that helps us become a great person, right? And also remember that this is not a personal thing. It is nothing that you did wrong. It's nothing that the students did wrong. It's not about, this is a worldwide pandemic, and like Nick said in the very beginning, it's a lot of uncertainty out there. So that is definitely really scary, but remember, this isn't your fault. It's no one's fault. We are in this together. And one thing I do want to mention is that LynxConnect, we have the Career Center. And this Career Center, we offer um, kind of like strengths quest and MBTI, and these assessments help look at yourself and really who are you? How do you like to work? What kind of person do you are? Who you are? What environment helps you thrive the best in? So I recommend, if you do want to look into MBTI assessments or strengths quest assessments, we'll definitely tell you how to do that at the end of the presentation. But yeah, just remember that this is not personal. And so leading on with directions and goals, I do have a small activity that helps students like myself, but also you as well if you're enrolled in a course at CU Denver. You do have skills to bring to the table, and right now it's kind of hard to put that stuff in your resume because you're like, well, I don't know what to do, or I don't think I even have skills. And one thing is, like, you do have skills. Your projects and the internships that you've done, your classwork, those kind of skills. You are building skills since freshman year. And so the next slide, if you log into Canvas, so this is my small Canvas right here. If you go into Canvas and you click that little book, this only works on the desktop app, by the way. But if you click that little book, it shows you all your courses. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the word all courses. And once you click that, it shows you all your past enrollments that you've taken. And so the reason I bring this up is because you still have access to the courses you've taken in the past. You can still see your assignments, to some limitations if your professors allow that. But to the extent of your submissions and the syllabus, you still have access to that. And with access to these materials from your group submissions or your work submissions, you can really look at what you did and like the projects you've taken, and look at the syllabus. What keywords from the syllabus transfer to the job that you're applying for. And this way, it does help you build your resume, and it shows that you do have relevant stuff. So like for me, I took a cybersecurity class, and I see a job posting saying, oh, you need to have experience in enumeration or encryption. I go to my syllabus in my cybersecurity class and go, oh, I did learn about that, and I did do something, like a project on it, and this is what I did. So I would put that project on my resume. And that way it helps, build that experience and shows that you can contribute something. So that's just a small activity. If you like to do that, I highly recommend going this way if you are a student. And so next is searching during a recession. And so I've been doing this basically every day, but networking. We throw this word on a lot. It's like, oh, just go network, have good networking skills. But what does that really mean? And for me, quite simply, it's put as building relationships. You're not just talking to somebody for like, a minute or like a day and like call it good. You want to build a relationship with this person, and this way you kind of get in their network circle, and they can kind of lead you to more opportunities if that's your goal. But for now, during this pandemic, the best way that I found to network is through LinkedIn. The first thing you do is, if you go click on people and you see somebody that you recognize and you want to network with, like let's say a colleague who has a great research program going on and you want to know more about it, you click connect. But you don't just stop there. You want to continue, because LinkedIn shows a little pop-up saying, hey, do you want to personalize your invitation? And I highly recommend that you do, saying, hey, this is Joe from XYZ course, something like that. And make it personal, make it show that you are a person, and you're not just going down the people section, clicking connect with every person you see, right? You want to make it personable. And another way to really network and build relationships is to stay in touch with the employers by following the company page. So if I want to follow, like let's say Visa, I would hit that follow button on LinkedIn, and that way I get updates of what they're doing with, say hiring process, or what they're doing with the employees, just to be in the know. And if you are in the middle of a hiring process, I'd reiterate your interests and your strong desire to work with them. But just keeping in with the updates of the companies and employers that you're looking at is really useful down the line. So that way you know what's going on. And the third one is set up an informational interview. And this could be through LinkedIn or an email, but essentially the goal of an information interview is around 30 minutes sit down between you and the employer. And you're talking to them, get more information about the company or the industry that you're looking at. So finance industry, what does that finance sector look like right now? Or what is this company's goals and what do the action plans right now look like? That way you, like I said, get more information, just like the LinkedIn following on the second bullet point. And the last one, again, I want to reiterate, like I mentioned earlier before, be intentional. And so this is a really good time to really evaluate what you want, right? So this could be a good time to think about, say, hey, maybe I don't like doing, analysis. I want to do marketing or something like that. This is a time to really look at yourself and truly pursue that passion, right? And this is a good time to write down goals and reflect on the intentional steps that you will take to achieve this goal that you have. You don't want to just be, going off left and right, applying to here and there, but you want to apply to the place that you want to be in, like the end goal that you want to be in. So, yep. And I'll pass it off to Nick to show some LinkedIn tips.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate that. So this slide that you all are looking at now are just a couple of screenshots from my LinkedIn profile. And there are just a few things that I wanted to hit on that relates to what Joe was talking about with doing informational interviews or trying to connect with certain employees or employers, or even to following a certain company's page. So in essence, what we see here on the left-hand side underneath LinkedIn Connecting, you see the CU Denver or University of Colorado Denver's page. So inside LinkedIn, every university has a page. And what's really, really helpful with this is if you look kind of along the left-hand navigation bar of that screenshot, we see that area that says alumni, and it's actually highlighted in blue. And so what you can do when you get to the University of Colorado Denver's LinkedIn page, select alumni, and then you begin to see the 87,590 alumni that are on LinkedIn. And if you look underneath, you can see where they live, where they work, and these different bars, these horizontal bars. Well, each one of those bars can become a search filter, and you can even scroll over to find more settings or more filters. So in essence, what you can do with this alumni page is you can say, I want to find alumni of CU Denver that live in the Denver area, that work at UC Health, and that studied biology. And then you will see all of those profiles that match those search criteria, and that these could be individuals you could do an informational interview with. You could reach out to be able to say, hey, I am about to graduate from the biology department as well. I think it's really cool that you're doing research at Anschutz or at UC Health. I would love to be able to learn more about that. Could I maybe connect with you over Zoom and figure out about your position and how you got there, and really pick their brain that helps you understand what that environment is like and if that's a position for you. In the very top right-hand side, you see a screenshot of what is called my business card. So what I always like to focus on here is that underneath my name, we have these phrasing. So for mine, it's career counselor, higher education professional, relationship builder, empathic, energetic, humanistic. Well, you can change these to anything that you want. LinkedIn will actually default that area to your most recent or your current position, but that sometimes may not necessarily serve you well. For Joe, as an example, he's getting ready to graduate and moving into the marketing field. So it wouldn't be as effective to have his business card say peer advisor at LynxConnect, because that's not as relevant as it might be recent college graduate seeking marketing and social media engagement positions. So knowing that the business card is one of the first things that people see, and if they're just searching, it's one of the first pieces of information before actually going to your profile. So be sure to focus that towards the population or the people that you're really interested in. And then directly underneath that, the third screenshot in the kind of bottom right-hand corner is the advanced people search. LinkedIn actually just recently updated this, so this screenshot isn't terribly accurate to what it looks like now. However, the filters and the function is exactly the same. So with the advanced people search, you can begin to identify individuals from certain industries, certain employers that might have certain skill sets, or really a tremendous amount of different filters, which again can be super helpful when trying to identify relationships to build, companies to follow, or individuals to do informational interviews with.
And hi, it's me again. I do want to jump in real quick for this part. Just slide. There we go. So I call this like setting yourself up for success. And like Nick mentioned, LinkedIn. Under the profile underneath your business card, there's a little option. If you look at the top right-hand corner, is a screenshot that says are you open to job opportunities? And so for me personally, I do leave that on, and that specifies towards me specifically because I'm a marketing major. But for you, as a student, you could be something else. But when you do have the option to turn that on, and what that does, the recruiters who are on LinkedIn, when they do a search, they do see your name pop up, and that way they can reach out to you if they have an opportunity and would like to interview you, or just connect with you and network with you. So I highly recommend putting that out there, just so that way your doors are open, right? Like there's no harm in opening it. Um, if you do want to set yourself up for opportunities like this way. And once you do get that, I do recommend, like I mentioned before, the resume and cover letter building. After the activity that we did with Canvas, you shouldn't just like take all the courses that you think are great and slap it on one resume and send that out to like every employer you see. You do have to tailor each resume and cover letter to each employer with the most relevant experience and meet their demands. So what this means is that you are tailoring it specifically towards Visa or towards an engineering company. It all depends, but you should not be sending a general resume, and you do want to show them that you do have all these skill sets. But sometimes it is kind of hard to really think about what you bring to the table. So I recommend making an appointment with either talking with me and my peers, my peer advisors, or I recommend setting up a in-depth resume review with the career counselors, or if you're looking for an internship, your internship advisors as well. And all this can be found through Handshake underneath the appointments tab.
Cool. So really, there's just some important pieces to remember when we are job searching in uncertain times. And, a lot of it definitely represents to what Joe was speaking on, that connections through LinkedIn, targeting your resume, being intentional with what you contribute and what you seek and what you need out of a position, or the skills, qualifications, and industry. So we know that jobs can be more challenging to obtain during recessions and uncertain times. So it really does take that effort and intention to make sure that success falls in your favor. So some things to really remember when you are job searching during a recession or as we navigate this pandemic, here are a few different things to know. Flexibility is essential. And I mean flexibility in every sense of the word. So knowing that, hey, it might be good to take a temp position right now because that can give you some stability, some income, and some relevant experience that you can leverage for the future. Knowing that you might need to be flexible in regards to how you navigate the job process and the hiring process, that you may not be fortunate enough to meet these people in person for interviews. So you need to be flexible with how you are evaluating a particular organization and if it's a correct fit for you. But also too, even being flexible to say, hey, I may want to go into, marketing for large tech firms, but man, I'm not seeing the jobs there right now. So what could I do that would be a relevant type of industry, a relevant type of position that I could work for a year or so, that then when things get more stable or these positions in my desired direction really open up, I could make that application too. So knowing that during recessions and during this pandemic, we have to be flexible in every sense of the word so that we can be successful. Being intentional and working harder than other applicants. It is just a fact of statistics that when there are less jobs available and we have more people looking for them, that the odds aren't necessarily in your favor. So this means that you really do need to put forth as much time and effort in every application as possible, and definitely reinforces the Career Center's philosophy of it is about the quality of applications, not the quantity of applications. So like Joe had mentioned very early on, intentionality is essential here, being intentional about how your skills connect to the employer's need, being intentional about how your goals align with that company and organization, working harder and actually filling out a company profile and not just uploading your resume, to fill out very detailed answers to supplemental questions, and to not try to shortcut anything in the process. Because if an employer sees that you've maybe taken an easy way out or not spent as much time as other applicants, that can be a reason that they would rule you out of their hiring process. So again, work harder, spend the time, focus on the quality of your application, focus that resume, focus that cover letter, practice your interview. And there's a lot of tools we'll share here later on that can support you in all of these regards. We got to focus on impact that we can make. And so in this scenario, when we job search in recessions, and what we've seen through previous recessions and what the data tells us is that it's no longer effective to be able to say, hey, I have a degree in communication, and you, the employer, are going to be able to see the impact that I can make. And you're going to be able to infer, conclude, and assume things about me when I just say I have a communication degree. Well, we know from history that that's not necessarily true. And we need to be more specific on what we bring to an organization. What's the impact we can make? What are the specific skills, the specific knowledge, the specific experience or professional attributes that you might have that are important and valuable for the employer? And really driving those home and really connecting yourself in who you are and your professional identity to that organization's need or job description. Same kind of thing in regards to flexibility is that we need to know that getting your foot in the door might be the most beneficial than the ideal job that you're looking for. So knowing that, hey, that temp position, that maybe temp to hire, or even a potential internship might be a better way to get your foot in the door with an organization that you really identify with and want to be a part of, but maybe just not at the direct job title that you really want or your dream job where you are right now. Because we know as things begin to open and more revenue gets pumped into these particular employers and industries, that those jobs will become available. And it is much easier to make a move within an organization from, we'll say an example of a temp position to a permanent marketing position, much easier to do inside of an organization than being an outside applicant. So again, that is that level of flexibility to really pay attention to and know that it can be beneficial for you. It's up to every individual to really evaluate and decide what's the best first step for their situation. Some individuals might feel a little bit more financial pressure after graduation, so the need for employment is a little bit more immediate. So that flexibility and getting the foot in the door premise is very important for those individuals. However, for others, maybe the financial pressure after graduation isn't as pressing, so therefore they can take a little bit more time. They might be able to spend more time networking and building relationships and doing some more advanced searching strategies to be able to land that dream job. But everybody's situation is different and everybody's background is different. And so to reiterate what Joe was mentioning is please use LynxConnect, use myself and the other counselors, the internship advisors, our peer advisors, use this entire office to be able to help you evaluate what is your situation, what are the appropriate steps that you can take to be able to get to where you want to be, but then also know to help you with that resume or cover letter or interview or any of those mechanical pieces as well. So a few other pieces that I think, again, are really important to remember as we navigate a job search in uncertain times are these. Just like Joe had mentioned, it's not personal, right? We got to reframe these rejections or the ghosting that we might feel when we apply to positions, and that it's not about your worth or your confidence and ability, but that there are many factors that go into employers choosing candidates that, again, might not be in your control. So again, don't take this personally. It will be a difficult job search process through summer, through these uncertain times. So it's important that we know that it's rejection and ghosting is not about you, not about your value. It's simply about a tremendous amount of other variables that mean that. So we have to reframe that. We have to stay positive, and we need to maintain that positivity and maintain that hope, because that will energize us to continue to push through the job search, push through these difficult times, as well as to make sure that there's a positive note and a positive beat in how we're writing our cover letters or how we're presenting in interviews, because our mental health does influence how we present through the hiring process. So again, we have to remember it's not personal, but then learn from these as well. Hey, what could I do differently? Could you maybe give me some feedback about my application or interview? All right, this industry has really been hard to break into. How do I learn and adapt and be flexible with that. Also, I think this is a very important thing to know in general, not just for job searching in uncertain times. And that is that your first job at a college is not going to be the job you retire in. Pretty much a lot of the statistics that we see about current generations and a little older generations, quite frankly, everybody outside of baby boomers, uh, are jumping around from 5 to 7 different careers or industries in their employment lifetime. So again, you're not going to be stuck at that same job or that same employer or that same industry right after college. And then again, that flexibility or getting your foot in the door, gaining some experience, gaining some professional aptitude can become immensely helpful in your transition to your dream job once we get a little bit more stability and see the economy really thriving once more. Similarly, we know that careers are not a linear progression. We know that we don't just graduate with our degree in psychology and we work in the field in this nice, easy climb and like a linear growth. Well, no, careers are sticky and messy and things go up and down and times change. And most importantly, you change. You continue to grow and you continue to develop. So it's important to know that, again, whatever this first position or the next 2 years, 1 year might look like for you, it's not what the rest of your life will look like. And there's always changes and adaptability that can happen. And importantly, too, you need to remember that we have to get comfortable with this uncertainty. We have to just accept and acknowledge and gain comfortability with we don't know what every day is going to look like. We're not exactly sure if we're going to see a resurgence of COVID in the fall. We don't know how economies will open and industries will function as we begin to see more and more people go out and spend resources. So it's really important that we get comfortable with the ever-changing fluidity of this situation, as well as get comfortable with the fact that you're going to be interviewing through webcams. You're going to be interviewing through phone calls. You may not have the opportunity to meet people in person on your first day when you gain that position. So we got to get comfortable with that. And we really need to know what are our self-care strategies that allow us to recharge our batteries, regain energy, and refocus our mind, whether that be coloring, talking with friends and family, or anything else out there that fits for you. Just always remember those so that you can stay positive and you can get comfortable with this process of navigating a job search through digital times. And so an important piece to hit here is check out our resources. We have a tremendous amount of resources on the Career Center website, as well as Inside Handshake. So Inside Handshake, there's an entire resource library that has our resume guides, our informational interview guides. There is a PDF that we also made in conjunction with this webinar, and I'll be sure to show you where we're going to place that so that you can reference that as well to get some of these broad strokes or big tips from job searching in uncertain times, which again is always remembering you're not through this. You do not have to navigate this on your own. You do not have to go through this on your own, but LynxConnect is here to support you all along the way. So action steps, for me, I always like to talk about, all right, what can we do? What's in our control? What is this information telling me about my behavior and action? And so the big thing is, schedule appointments in LynxConnect. We are able to meet with you virtually over Zoom or even perhaps over phone connected via Zoom. So just know that we are here to help you with evaluating your background and your goals. Okay, just like Joe had mentioned, I did this project. It taught me certain skills, but what else did it teach me? How can I pivot those skills? What does that really mean for my immediate goal of 3 months versus maybe a more long-term goal of 1 year out? We can support with resumes, cover letters, mock interviewing, networking, and really everything that we've talked about today and more are things that LynxConnect supports students with. So again, you can schedule appointments with myself or Joe or any other of the other staff members in LynxConnect to really go through all of these areas to better feel supported, prepared, and what's the right recipe for you to bring these pieces together and support. Very similarly, right, we can talk about what are specific strategies for you. What are your industries and your goals and your skills and everything that's unique to your professional identity so that we can tailor those strategies to be able to reach those goals. A big part of the research that we hear when we are job searching during recessions is that we need to develop ourselves. So, a big part of bettering yourself, or a big part of what you can do during a job search in uncertain times, are a lot of these things. So, the Career Center just produced the Job Search Studio. This is a Canvas course that we can upload you into, and it will have 3 different parts to it that focus on the job searching process. We just finished the first part. We have about 10 videos up right now, along with some worksheets and some really good activities that can help you to begin to build this target and professional identity that you leverage for employers. Also, too, LinkedIn Learning. You probably have heard a lot about this. There's been a lot of marketing and communication to students and staff about our accessibility to LinkedIn Learning. And I actually am going to do a quick demo here in about a few minutes to be able to show you just some neat things about it and how to navigate the platform, because when I first logged into it, it was a little overwhelming, and I don't want you all to feel that. And then we also know we got to gain some more experience. So even though we may not be able to gain the exact position that we're looking for or the correct industry that we want to be in, gaining experience through volunteering, groups and clubs, professional associations, anything we can do to stay engaged is a huge, huge benefit, because employers are hesitant to see gaps in employment or gaps in experience. But if you're able to fill that gap with a volunteer or a professional membership position that you volunteered for, that shows that engagement, that shows that work, and ultimately that becomes content on your resume and content that you can leverage to gaining positions. And the last big thing that we know about with job searching during recessions and uncertain times is that the target, connect and target. So build relationships, do those informational interviews, be able to identify those strong attributes and professional content of who you are to make those conversations and relationships form much easier. And also, too, it's all about that professional identity. So the big 3 things that we take away from all of the research and things we've read and digested about job searching in uncertain times are these. We need to build a target. We have to know where we're going, who we're going to, and why. It's all of that intentionality stuff that Joe was hitting on earlier. But also, beyond having a strong sense of our professional identity and our professional target, we also need to continue to develop ourselves. We need to continue to attend courses, do LinkedIn learnings, volunteer, do anything we can to continue to better ourselves, because that's what employers will want to see when things are slower economically. And then the last big thing that we hear about is connections, networking, networking, networking. And so again, we really do hope to support you all in being able to establish relationships that will better serve your job search and application to future positions. So really quickly, I just wanted again to be able to show you all a quick demonstration of LinkedIn Learning, how to log into it, and some different areas to look into. So real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch which screen I am sharing with you all and be able to bring up my LinkedIn profile. Great. So my LinkedIn profile should be available and visible for everybody here. And so really, there's a few different pathways you can use to get to LinkedIn Learning. If you just log into your LinkedIn profile, you'll see it on the right-hand side right here. Go ahead and select on it. Because I have already logged into the system using my single sign-on feature or my CU Denver credentials, it already pipelined me directly to the platform. But just know that before you've logged in previously, all it will do is I'll ask you, do you have a membership through your license or organization? You say yes. You denote CU Denver, you give your CU Denver email address, and then it will navigate you through that single sign-on function. You can also get to LinkedIn Learning through UCD Access as well, or through Canvas. My Canvas looks very different, or my UCD Access, excuse me, looks different than y'all's. And so that's where I wanted to just show the LinkedIn side of it. But always know we're happy to schedule appointments with you or talk through what that could look like using the UCD Access navigation pathway to LinkedIn Learning. So a couple of things that I wanted to show is you can go through and browse so many different subject areas. It is quite overwhelming how much content they have inside LinkedIn Learning, because it could be everything from emotional intelligence and how to have difficult conversations with colleagues or supervisors to how do I use Microsoft Excel? How do I start a small business? It is, again, really wild how much content is in here. So something that I think can be really important is we always need to know what's our intention or what's our goal. What do we want to get out of something? So I think a really good search that can be helpful is, as you can see from my search history, job searching during a recession. Hey, let's see what this is all about. And we can begin to get over 260 articles related to job searching, and more specifically, job searching during economic times or challenging economic times. There could be different videos, different activities. It could be everything from a 44-second quick snapshot to an 11-hour course that you can navigate and do different activities and exams with. Even to knowing that if you feel uncomfortable with something like, having difficult conversations, crucial conversations, they have entire courses related to difficult conversations, communicating empathically, and all kinds of wonderful, wonderful content here as well. So even know that some of the things related to job searching, professional development, navigating a career management is a huge area of this, how to navigate remote work fundamentals. Again, there's a lot that we can look through and a lot that has really awesome information. And anytime we select on a particular course, this is kind of what it begins to look like. You get a little bit of an overview, you get some breakdown of time, get a breakdown of learning objectives or what you should be gaining from this experience. There's a question and answer section of what previous people have attended or represented and said. And even too, for certain courses, might even have different quizzes or kind of testing of knowledge, so to speak. And it's, again, not necessarily to say you got an A in this course, great for you, but it's really to say, hey, this makes more sense for you, and you can now really speak confidently about that. So again, just a quick little tutorial about LinkedIn Learning, because again, it's a very overwhelming platform that has a lot of different sections. So when thinking about using this, just always remember, what do you want to get out of it? Where do you want to go? And that can help you to focus your search criteria, whether it be through a navigation of their search bar and key terms, or it's a navigation of just browsing through all the different things that they have. Data science is a big thing these days. Might be really good to be able to have some of that knowledge under your belt. All right, students, give me one moment. So again, that was just a quick little thing about LinkedIn Learning. We hope that you all will leverage it and utilize it. It's a wonderful platform. And in essence, that is what we had for you today. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and finish out the recording.